welcome to your car tutorial. So today we're going to make a little sports car and we're going to show you little extras that really makes it stand out. So let's go. To start with, we need a frame, and this is what the frame is going to look like. It's a box with a flat weave and a box at the back. The whole lot takes about 8 balloons, and I'm going to show you how I make it without having to break the balloons off too many times, so it's nice and sturdy. So you'll need 4 260s, so go ahead and inflate. I've gone inflated all 4 balloons and I've left about 4-finger, 5-finger tail. Okay, now on all 4 we need a pinch twist, so go and make a pinch twist on all 4 balloons like so, and when we've got all 4 we can start to make our box. So grab your first one and then measure down from that pinch twist 4 fingers. Okay, no more, just 4 fingers, and twist. Grab your second balloon and wrap that pinch twist into that twist point there, like so. Measure across from that balloon then, your hand and the thumb extended, and in that twist point we're going to grab our third balloon and wrap the pinch twist in there, and then we're going to measure the same size balloon as on this side, which was 4 fingers. I'm just going to make sure though by checking that they are the same, and then grab my 4th balloon, wrap that pinch twist into that twist point. And with my 4th balloon then, I'm going to come across and complete this rectangle shape by wrapping into this pinch twist, and the measurement was hand and an extended thumb. So I'm going to make sure that they are exactly the same before twisting it into that final pinch twist. And we should have a balloon on each corner and our rectangle shape, which is going to be the front grille. Okay, now we're going to come down the side. I'm going to show you on my frame. We're going to make this box here. Okay, now if you can see, this side is larger than this side. This one's about 4 fingers. This one is slightly bigger. It's a complete hand. Okay, and it gives us that raise that we're looking for here, this wedge shaped effect, which gives us our front bonnet. Okay, so on this section then, coming down the side of what we've just made, I'm going to measure from that pinch twist a hand and an extended thumb, and I'm going to twist the end of that thumb and make a pinch twist. I'm then going to measure down this balloon that we've just twisted a full hand. Okay, and make sure it's a generous hand and it's not in underneath that thumb. Make sure it's on the outside of that thumb, because we want it to be a little bit bigger than this. Okay, and once we've got that, we'll make a pinch twist. Now this is where it can get a bit confusing. We're going to hold the side of this onto our bottom balloon, and what we're looking for is to make sure that these are parallel with each other and they're facing straight up. We don't want this and we don't want this. We want them parallel with each other. Now this measurement is going to be slightly different to this because this one's slightly angled up, and my thumb and my hand's going to be a lot different to yours. So you're going to have to gauge this by looking at it. When these are straight, like so, I'm going to wrap this into that pinch twist down there. Okay, so wrap that in, and we have that. Okay, slightly bigger on this side, slightly narrow on that side, and it just gives us just a bit of a wedge effect where our bonnet is going to sit. Now this yellow balloon, or this balloon at the bottom here, we're going to bring the width of the car. Now we know from the front grille it's a hand and an extended thumb, so we're going to measure hand and an extended thumb. I'm just going to make sure that they are the same size by looking at this front measurement here, and when I'm happy, I'll put a pinch twist at that twist point, like so. This one then, remember this is the bottom one, which we had to gauge the measurement by holding this one parallel.
Well, I'm going to turn it upside down, and then I will be able to find that measurement by just looking at it. This measurement from this one by just looking at it like this. And when I'm happy I've got it, I'm going to twist and wrap into this pinch twist that we just came across with. And I'm going to bring this one up the same measurement as this. If you remember, it was our full hand. Again, I'm just going to check that both sides are the same and make a pinch twist. And the final one then is this side. If you remember, we made this a hand and an extended thumb. Well, we're going to do the same on this side and twist into this pinch twist here. And to complete our box, we need to bring this across. And remember, it's the width of the car, which is a hand and an extended thumb. Again, checking that they're all roughly the same size, and wrap into that pinch twist on the opposite side. So as you can see, I've got my box without having to break any balloons off at all. Okay. This is going to be the bottom. This just slightly raises up. Probably can't see it because of all different coloured balloons. And we have a balloon on each corner of this box to continue our flat weave going back down the side. So I can appreciate that can be really complicated, but ultimately all we've created is a box on the front, okay, with a balloon on each of the four corners, and it slopes up, so one side is narrower than the other side. Now we're going to make this weave down a side, and we weave it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, but we're not going to get 4 weaves out of the balloons we've got left. So at some stage we're going to have to connect another 4. So I think we'll probably get about 2 before we have to break the balloons off and rejoin some more. So the flat weave then, just to remind everybody how that goes, is a small spacer bubble. So I'm going to bend this down and make a bubble the same size as this on this. Okay, so I'm going to hold that and make a small spacer bubble on this side like we did on this side, and wrap these 2 balloons together. They're locked in place. Now I'm going to bring the other balloon across and measure the same size bubble as the one we've just made. And when I've twisted that same size bubble, I'm going to hold them there and I'm going to rotate them around to lock them in place. Like so. Then I'm going to make another one. Let me just show you. It is a small spacer bubble. I'm going to bring this balloon across, make the same size bubble. Then I'm going to twist the spacer bubble on this side, wrap them together, nice and tight. Bring this one back across, make another bubble the same size as the one we just made. Twist it, hold them together, and just rotate them around to lock them in place. You see how we're starting to come down the side with our flat weave, and we're running out of balloon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to attach 4 more balloons anyway to continue down the side of the car. So this is an ideal place. I'm going to break the ends off, let the air escape. And rather than tie them at the sides here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the balloon into the center and tie it. That way the knot and the scrappy bits are lost inside that balloon and the edges are clear of any knots which can unravel. Okay, so on this side then, small spacer bubble. Bring it down the same size bubble as this, twist, spacer bubble on the opposite side, wrap them together, bring this balloon back up, make the same size bubble, twist them together, nice and tight. And that's one weave, and we're going to do it again. bring the balloon back across, make the same size bubble and wrap them together. Okay, I probably could get another one out of there, but I'm going to join it the same as this. So we've got the same size balloons running backwards. Break the ends off. I'm going to connect these in the middle just to keep it nice and tidy. Just tuck that scrap inside that weave there. So that is what we have so far. We need to connect another 4 balloons, okay? So go ahead and do that now. Inflate 4 more balloons, leaving about 4 5-finger tails. I've inflated 4 more balloons, same size as the last ones, then leaving about 4 5-finger tail. And I'm going to connect these to our weave. So all I'm going to do is hold our balloon the right way up, grab the nozzle, I'm going to wrap it, push it through, pull it to the top. I'm going to wrap it around our balloon a few times and then push it back in to that gap or the middle, and that will pin that nice and tight. If you want to tie it, but I don't think there's any need. So again, grab that nozzle, push it in through, bring it up to the top. I'm going to wrap it around that balloon several times and just push that in there, wrap nice and tight in there. Again with these two, in there, wrap it around several times, just hide that in the balloon. And my last one, push it through the middle, to the top, wrap it around a few times just to lose it. So we can now continue our flat weave, and we're going to make another 2 sections, okay? So again, spacer bubble, bring it across, same size bubble, spacer bubble on this side, wrap them together, bring this other balloon across. Again, make sure the bubbles are the same size, and then just wrap them together. Like so. And once I've done it 4 times, I'm going to make sure I've done the same on this side. Okay, so here we have it, the front section of our car. We've got our 2 sides, okay, and once we've done 1, 2, 3, 4 flat weaves, I'm going to make another spacer bubble and a pinch twist on all 4 balloons. So go ahead and do that. I'm just going to grab each balloon, make a small spacer bubble like we were down the flat weave, and make a spacer bubble and a pinch twist. Side, so a spacer bubble and a pinch twist. Last one, and a spacer bubble and a pinch twist. Okay, and all we're going to do is bring this balloon down, make sure we have a bubble the same size as this, and wrap into that pinch twist we made on the opposite side. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I've got a bubble same size as this, and then I'm going to wrap into the pinch twist on the opposite balloon, and I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to come back. I'm just going to leave the 2 balloons at the bottom. So I came down on this side and wrapped into the pinch twist. On this side I'm going to come up, so I'll have 2 balloons at the bottom on this side and 2 balloons at the top on this side. So get this one, measure the same size bubble, twist, and then wrap into that pinch twist at the top. Okay. So now, the larger of the 2 balloons, which is this one, I'm going to bring across and connect with the opposite side. So this is the width of the car. So I know the width of the car is going to be the same. It's going to be a hand and an extended thumb. And I'm going to wrap into that pinch twist on the opposite side. So now I have a balloon on each of them pinch twists, and the same at the top. To find the largest balloon, measure again a hand and an extended thumb distance, and wrap into the opposite side. And now we have the front section, our flat weave, and we're going to make the back section with a balloon on each corner, ready to make our box. Okay, so I'm going to show you on our other one we have made. Okay, this is our framework. So as it slopes up on the front, we've come across, it has to slope up slightly at the back. Okay, and that gives our racy look to this car. If we were just to bring it across and not have that slight raise there, it takes the edge off it, as it does the front. Okay, it kind of makes it look like a standard car rather than a really nice racy sports car. Okay, so this section is going to be slightly bigger than this section, as was the front. So when we come back to our car, make sure you've got it the right way round. Okay, this is the top, this is the front section, the top section, which is going to be the hood, and we're coming across to this balloon. Now from the pinch twist down, we're going to use that same measurement, which is a hand and an extended thumb, and twist and make a pinch twist. Okay. Now this should be about hand's width distance, because we copied it all the way from this one all the way across. So this one's going to be slightly longer, and the way I'm going to do this is, you've guessed it, that same measurement. It's a hand and an extended thumb. Okay, then I'm going to make a pinch twist. Again, we're going to have to judge this measurement, and the way we judge it is again by making sure that these are parallel with each other, okay, and they're facing straight up. We don't want this, we don't want that. Okay, we want to hold this bottom balloon straight, and when this section is pointing straight up like this and they're parallel with each other, I'm going to wrap this bottom balloon into that pinch twist. So go ahead and do that. Okay, this bottom one then, as you can see, the one we just made, it raises slightly up on the back. This bottom one then, we came across, we wrapped into that pinch twist. And now we're going to bring it across the width of the car. And we know the width of the car is always going to be the same. It's going to be a hand and an extended thumb. So we'll make a pinch twist, like so. And this measurement here, which is the bottom on the opposite side, we had to judge this, but the best way I'm going to judge it is hold it upside down and just gauge the same size by just eyeballing it. And when I've got that, I'm going to wrap into that pinch twist on the balloon we just brought across, okay, which was the width, and wrap into there. Okay, like so. I know this can be a bit confusing, so we're going to talk about this afterwards. On this side, we knew that was a hand and a thumb, extended thumb measurement, so I'm going to make the same here. I'm going to make a pinch twist. And I also knew that we had to make this slightly longer than this, and it was a hand and an extended thumb as well. Okay, but we're not going to make it on this. We're going to make it on this one, because this is going to step across to make our box. So grab the balloon which we came out from the flat weave and connected to this section. We're going to make a hand and an extended thumb measurement, wrap it into the top pinch which we just made, and that's not quite long enough, so I'm going to use the longer of the two, which is this one, to come across and make our box. So remember, the width of the car the whole way back is a hand and an extended thumb. So I'm going to make that measurement and wrap into our final pinch twist, and our box is complete. Break off all these remaining balloon sections, and I'm just going to tie off, wrap around that pinch twist and just lose it somewhere in the center. Okay, be careful when you're doing this. You can trim these off if you want. I'm just going to lose them in there because you're not going to see anything that's in there anyway. It's entirely up to yourself. So, make sure everything's straightened up. Spend a couple of seconds adjusting it. And this is our framework, okay? So it raises slightly at the front and it raises slightly at the back. And this framework I made out of 4 different coloured balloons hopefully helped you to make what is the start of our sports car, okay? Now, whenever you're making this, it's really quite a simple design. You've just got a box, a flat weave and a box at the back. If you find it difficult to follow what I've just done, if you want to make your box and then attach 4 more balloons, make your weave on both sides, and then make the box at the back, then that's cool. You don't have to do it in 8 balloons like I did. But as long as you get to this position, the best way that suits yourself, then you've achieved it. You've got this. The rest then is just what we add to this initial framework. So hopefully you was able to follow that. But if you've ever made the box numbers, then you'll kind of have a good idea of how to make the front and the back section without having to break the balloons off and connect them again. Okay, so we've got this. Now we're going to make the top section. Okay, so we need 3 160s. I've inflated 3 160s, all with about the same, about 4 to 5 finger tail, doesn't really matter. Okay, put 2 down, keep hold of 1, grab our box, our frame, and make sure it's the right way up. Okay, so you don't want it this way where the slopes are going down. You want to make sure it's the right way up, so put the roof the right way on. Okay, and we're going to grab 160. The nozzle I'm going to attach to this point. So this is the front box of the car. This is where the hood's going to go. And I'm going to attach it to this pinch twist here. So I'm just going to roll that nozzle into there. Nice and tight. And I'm naturally going to bring this balloon to this pinch twist here. So it hides all these little bubbles on the weave. I'm not going to force it. I don't want it loose. Just wherever it nicely sits onto that pinch twist, I'm going to wrap it in. Like so. I'm then going to bring it upwards and measure 4 fingers from that pinch twist and then make another pinch twist like that. Okay, I'm then going to bring it the width of the car, which was a hand and an extended thumb, and make another pinch twist so it comes across, up, across the width of the car, and now it has to come back down to the pinch twist on the opposite side. Okay, and remember the measurement with 4 fingers. I'm just going to judge, make sure it is the same size, and wrap into the pinch twist on the opposite side. So we've come across, we've gone up the width of the vehicle and back down, and now we're going to come back across like we started, across these bubbles on the flat weave, just to hide them, back to this pinch twist at the very start. Okay, so wrap that in like so, and we can break the remainder off. We no longer require that. Tie that or wrap it in, whatever you want. So that's what we have. Okay, grab your second 160. Got my frame, got my 160. The nozzle then I'm going to wrap into the very start point of our last 160 and wrap that in. Once I've wrapped that in nice and tight, I'm going to bend it over on itself and make a 3-finger loop. Just twist that in. sure it's twisted in there, it's not going to undo. And I'm just going to leave that on the side. That's going to be our side view mirror. And then this balloon, I'm going to make sure this is pointing upwards, it's not leaning forwards or backwards, make sure it's straight. And this 160, wherever it meets this pinch twist here in the middle, I'm going to wrap it in. I don't want this effect, okay? And I don't want it too tight. So just wherever it naturally, nice and straight, fits that 160 pinch twist, I'm going to wrap it in. And then as you can see, it naturally comes down to this pinch twist at the back. And I'm going to keep this straight and wrap that into that pinch twist at the back. Like so. Okay, now I'm going to leave this connected and I'm going to do the same on this side. So grab your third 160, grab the nozzle, wrap into the front, direct opposite of where we made our side view mirror, and wrap that nozzle in. And again, I'm going to make the same size loop, which is about 3 fingers. We don't want it too much bigger than that, because then it kind of looks a bit silly on the side. And I'm going to bring this exactly the same as we did on the opposite side. I'm going to make sure this is straight, and when that meets that and this balloon's nice and straight, I'm going to wrap that into that pinch twist. Like so. And then it'll want to come all the way back down to that pinch twist naturally. So I'm going to then make sure this is straight, I'm not pulling at it, and then I'm going to wrap it into that pinch twist at the back. So that's the top section, okay? Now, I'm going to choose the larger of these two, okay? And I'm going to make our spoiler on the back. So it just comes up 4 fingers. I'm going to make a pinch twist. I'm going to come across the width of the car, which is the hand and extended thumb. Make another pinch twist, and then step this back down to the pinch twist on the opposite side, the same as we came up, which is 4 fingers. And I'm just going to wrap that in to that pinch twist, and then break that up. You can make this out of a 260, you can double it over, you can make a more fancy spoiler. I'm just trying to utilize the balloon that we had left, so we're not wasting it and we're not attaching more, so it's quicker. Okay, this section then I'm going to bring across to this balloon. I'll show you why later on. Okay, but just for now, bring it across and wrap in to that balloon, that pinch twist over there. Sorry. And then we can break it off and just wrap that in. So as you can see, what the remainder we had, I brought across and just wrapped into the opposite side. And that will help when we put this back section in. So the spoiler then, you can have that whatever angle you want. If you want, you can put a slight bend on these upward struts, so it kind of looks like that. Whatever takes your fancy. So once we have this, we're going to attach our wheels. Okay, so for this we're going to use 350s. Again, you can use an 11-inch round and tulip twist centerpiece, but we're not going to do that because my ways are a little bit easier and I kind of like it, so that's what we're going to do. So put this to one side for a second and grab a black 350 and inflate. So I've inflated my black 350, leaving about hand's width tail. I'm going to let it a little bit of air out, just because sometimes when your black balloons, regardless of manufacture, sometimes it can be a little bit weaker than the rest of the colours, I find. So I've left a hand's width at the tail. On the nozzle side then, I'm going to make a 3-finger bubble pinch twist. Give it a little bit of a squeeze, bend it over, and from this point to where we made the pinch twist, I'm looking for about 6 fingers, about 6, 7, but no more than 7, okay? And then I'm going to twist that and break it off. You should have enough to make another one. If you don't,
then don't panic, just inflate another black 350 and make a second one of these. Well, I'm going to see if I've got enough in this section to do so. Make a 3-finger bubble pinch twist, give it a little bit of a squeeze, and what I'm going to do is hold my first one up as a template so I can gauge the size and make it exactly the same. And when I have, I'm just going to twist it once and offer it up. The reason I've twisted it once and not a few times is because then it's dead easy to untwist and readjust it if I've got the wrong size. Yep, I'm happy enough, so I'll twist it a few more times, break off the end and tie that so it doesn't come undone. I'm just going to push that through that section just to give it that bit more stability so it doesn't unravel on me. I've got two the same. Once I get to this point, then this pinch twist, I'm going to push underneath that knot like so. Okay, and the same with this one. Just feed it underneath that knot. There we go. Now I have two exactly the same for my wheels. And now we need a 5-inch round for each one of these, and we'll show you the size we're looking for. So grab two 5-inch rounds. So I've got these Chrome Effect 5-inch rounds, and I'm going to inflate it no more than about a golf ball, ping pong ball size, okay? And I just want it big enough so it doesn't fit through the gap, but not too big that it bulges out and takes away the look from our tyre or our wheel. So I'll show you what I mean. We have our wheel, we have our small centerpiece, push the nozzle through, and I want it just to sit nice and snug in that space like so. So it just pops out, but it's too big to fit through. Okay, like this. And I'm going to do the same on my second. I have two wheels. Now we're going to connect them to the car. So I'm going to talk this through because I need to show you why I'm going to do this next step. Okay, so this is the front. I'm going to turn it this way. Now we have a bit of scrap from each of these 5-inch rounds. Now if I was to hold them on the side and push the scrap through and tie them in the middle, then it would be too tight and we risk pushing the sides of our car in, which will distort it, and we don't want that. Okay, so to increase the length on one of these means we need a scrap of balloon. So I'm going to get a 160 and I'm going to cut it in half, attach half to one of my 5-inch rounds to increase that length and save the rest for our back wheels. Okay, so grab a 160 and cut it in half. Half of 160, the nozzle of my 5-inch round. I'm going to tie the two together. Make sure I tie it nice and tight in the double knot. And again, so now that's nice and tight on there. You see I've extended the balloon, giving me better range to fit that, and also it won't distort the frame. So when I hold my frame and I push this through this gap, so I'm pushing it through this gap here, I'm just going to hold the wheel so it sits nice on the tight on the side. Just hold that while I grab my second one on the side, and again I'm going to tie this in the middle, but I want this just to sit nice and snug. I don't want it to be falling off. Just nice and snug, but it's not too tight to distort that frame. And I'm going to tie them in the middle. Make a double knot. And then what you will find is our wheels are attached to the side of our car. Okay? Now I'm not worried about positioning them yet because I have a lot of work still to do. So once them wheels are on the front of the car, okay, and the framework's nice and straight, we are going to inflate two more 160s. Okay, so go ahead, inflate, leaving about 5-finger tail. So I've inflated 2 160s. This is one of them. I'm going to attach it on this side of the car. So on this pinch twist right down at the very bottom, I'm going to wrap this nozzle into that. Okay. Like so. Now we want to bring this balloon over that wheel and make a wheel arch. But if we try and do that, what you'll find is the wheel arch will move away from the frame of the car because there's just not enough space coming out of that pinch twist for this balloon and our 160. So, just like we did on our flat weave where we had to make a spacer bubble before we brought it back down to sit nice and neat on the previous one, we're also going to have to make a spacer bubble to move it away from the frame of the car. So, make a small spacer bubble, then make a pinch twist. This now allows us to bring this over that tyre or that wheel, like so. Okay, nice and tight. We don't want it too loose, we want it sitting right on top of that tyre. And we want to wrap it into this pinch twist here on the opposite side, okay, of our box. Now, the way we're going to measure that is just above that pinch twist is where I'm going to squeeze this balloon. If I measure it on the pinch twist and then you find it might be a small gap there, so I want it to stretch that balloon over that tyre. So right at the top of that pinch twist, I'm going to squeeze this balloon, twist, and make a pinch twist. And as we did at the very start, we had to make a spacer bubble to move it away from the frame. We're also going to have to make a spacer bubble to move it back into the frame so it still stays nice and tight against that frame, okay? So make a small spacer bubble and then wrap into that pinch twist at the back of that wheel. Wrap in nice and tight. And as you can see, that sits nice and snug on top of our wheel. Don't worry if there's a slight gap here and here. I'm going to show you a technique which will pull them in nice and tight and also keep that wheel in situ tighter as well. So once we've finished with this 160, I'll show you that technique there. So we've wrapped into this pinch twist. We want to hide all this unsightly mess, all these bubbles for our flat weave by bringing it down the car to this pinch twist here. Like we did at the top, we're going to bring it to this pinch twist and wrap in. And then I'm going to bring it back, because I like to double it over at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to bring it back into that pinch twist where we started. I just wrap in nice and tight. So I'm making this car all the same colour, but at the end I'm going to show you what it looks like with different accent colours all around our car, because this one looks really cool in a different colour as well. This like part of the sill of the car. Okay, so I'm going to break the remainder off, we don't need it. I'll just wrap around that pinch twist and we're just going to lose that in the balloon somewhere. So that's what we have. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find a scrap long enough for me to wrap from this pinch twist on the wheel arch under the tyre or behind the tyre into this one, and it'll pull them nice and tight. Not too tight, but it'll pull them nice and tight and it keeps this wheel in situ better as well. So I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap and I'll show you. Got my scrap. I'm just going to wrap it around this pinch twist here. I'm going to bring it underneath the tyre like so and wrap into that one on the opposite side. We don't want to pull it too tight because it kind of wants to kick the tyre out of position, but just tight enough. If you look underneath, okay, it's tied in to one pinch twist. It comes under the tyre
and tied in there. If you tie it really, really tight, it's going to force the bottom up like this. Okay, we don't want that. Okay, so now it sits nice and snug around that wheel. If you really, really are struggling to keep that wheel arch in and it doesn't look great, then just put a glue dash between them two sections and it won't move and it'll be nice and tight. Okay, so that's an alternative. If you're struggling to keep that nice and tight around that wheel, then just put a glue dash and pin it together. This wheel then, okay, I always make sure that this pinch twist that we tucked underneath that knot is at the very bottom. If it's round the side, it kind of messes with my mojo a bit and I can't sleep at night. So I always make sure that that is right down at the bottom, as is all 4 of my wheels, okay? So once we've done that, go ahead and repeat on the opposite side. Exactly the same. Okay, so if you're not sure what we've just done, okay, don't rewind it quite yet because I'm going to repeat it on the opposite side for you. I attached it into that front pinch twist. I'm going to make that spaceable, which is really important, otherwise it'll not sit nice and tight. Make a pinch twist. Then I'm going to bend this all the way around my wheel, which is awkward showing you this way. Okay, and once it's nice and tight, at the top of this pinch twist, I'm going to squeeze, twist, and make a pinch twist. Then I'm going to make that small spacer bubble, if you remember we needed at the very start, and then wrap into that pinch twist on the opposite side. Again, I'm not too worried about this gap here, we can pull that in, okay, and we'll straighten everything up. Once we've done that, I'm going to come across to this pinch twist at the bottom of the weave and wrap in. And then I'm going to bring it back across. Again, if you really wanted to, you could break that off there and use a different colour. But I'm just trying to use as much of that balloon as possible without wasting any unnecessary. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Then we can break off the remainder. And I'm just going to wrap that around that pinch twist a few times and then just lose that on the inside of the balloon. Okay, it's quicker. Again, I'm going to get a piece of scrap and I'm going to just remind you how I did that. Piece of scrap, wrap it around this pinch twist on the wheel arch. I'm going to pull it underneath that tyre to the one on the opposite side. I'm not going to wrap it around too tight, but just tight enough that it brings them in around that wheel arch nice and tight. And as you can see, it makes everything really stable. And these wheel arches then should sit nice and tight on your frame, okay? Once we put the hood section in, it pushes it slightly out and it kind of makes everything nice and stable and really helps with the integrity of the frame. So now we've done our front wheels, we're going to concentrate on our back wheels. So we need another 350 black. So I've inflated a 350 black, left about hand's tail. Okay, now you're not going to get 2 wheels out of the one, purely because the back wheel is going to be slightly bigger, and for obvious reasons the back gap here, this section here, is slightly bigger than the front, so we're going to have to make a bigger wheel to fit that. Okay, so I kind of think it looks cooler with the bigger wheel at the back. Kind of gives it that dragster, that sporty race car look, a caricature of a cartoon car, like you would catch on Lightning McQueen or something like that. Okay, so the very start then I'm going to make a 3-finger bubble pinch twist. Give it a squeeze, bend it over, and it's not going to be massively bigger, but it is going to be bigger slightly. So I'm going to measure hand and a thumb, maybe just a finger more, but a hand and an extended thumb like we've been using for a lot of the measurements. Maybe just an extra finger there for luck.
Okay, break off the remainder. We'll not use this. Inside and tie that off so it doesn't come undone. Once I've tied that, I always thread it through just so it strengthens that a wee bit. And grab another 350 and make another one of these. Now don't wrap this underneath because we're going to use this as a template. Got two the same size. Going to push that pinch twist underneath through that knot. Like so. And then I'm going to get another two 5-inch rounds. Obviously the 5-inch round that fits that gap is going to be bigger than the one we use for the front. So grab two and I'll show you what size they need to be. Okay, so I'm going to inflate that. It's about the size of my palm, no bigger. Okay, and I'm going to fit that nozzle through the tyre. And I don't want it sitting on the side like this because it just kind of borders out too much. So I'm just going to massage that inside. Not enough it falls through, but just enough so it just comes out not too far. A nice shape like this. I'm going to do that on both of my whip, like that. And I'm going to attach that piece of scrap that we had, that we cut, that 160, onto the end of this nozzle, right at the very end, to extend it out. Do that. So I've tied mine and it's extended out. So now I'm going to fit both of these onto my vehicle. Okay, so we've got our front ones on the exact same way, turn it upside down, thread this, hold this at the side and thread this through. I'm just going to hold that there. I'm going to grab my second one and then I'm going to pull them tight enough so they're attached to the side but not pushing that frame in. Okay, so they're nice fitted on the side like this, and I'm going to tie in that inside the frame, make it a double knot so they sit on the side like this. They're slightly bigger than the front ones, as you can see. Again, I'm not too worried about the positioning of them yet until we've done our wheel arches over the back. You can use a 260, but I'm going to use a 160 just because that's what I've been teaching this model with. So grab two 160 balloons and inflate with about 4 or 5 finger tail, just like we have been the rest of the balloons. Okay, so do that now. Two 160s inflated, about 4 or 5 finger tail. We're only going to use one at the minute. Grab your car and we're going to go to the back and we're going to attach the nozzle into this pinch twist right there at the bottom. Okay, so wrap that nozzle in. Make sure the pinch twist is at the bottom. I'll find it makes life easier. Okay, going to make that spacer bubble. Remember that spacer bubble we've talked about? Then a pinch twist. Hold our tyre in position. Bring this around nice and tight, like so. Okay, so it's nice and tight on top of that. And at the top of that pinch twist at the back, I'm going to squeeze and twist. Make a pinch twist. And that spacer bubble that we talked about. And then wrap it into that pinch twist at the very back. Break the remainder off. The air escape. Tie this or wrap it around the pinch twist, whatever you want to do. Lose that in the frame. And this one, I'm going to connect to the wheel arch and just help pull that in. Keeps it nice and tight around that wheel. So I'm going to wrap it around that pinch twist there. I'm not tying it around the pinch twist, I'm just wrapping it. Bring it to the back of the wheel and the very end of that, just wrap around 2 or 3 times. And then just open it up and push that wheel inside like that, and make sure the pinch twist is at the bottom and it sits nice and tight around there. It keeps the integrity and everything, and it's nice and tight in the frame. Top tip for you then, if that pinch twist is sitting on top of the weave, just push it back slightly so it's on that single section going down on your box, so it sits nice and tight and it wedges in there slightly and it keeps it tight on the frame.
Okay, so that's a tip for you there. Make sure these are all at the very bottom. If you really want, if you're struggling and you find it's not sitting as you want, just push them together with a glue dot in the middle. Okay, no one's going to judge you. Okay, so that's one side. We're going to do the exact same for this side. Go ahead and grab your second 160. So that side's complete. Second side then, remember we started down here. Grab your nozzle and wrap into that point. Make sure that pin twist just goes underneath there like so. And then make that spacer bubble a pinch twist. Like so. Again, position your wheel, wrap this all the way around nice and tight. At the top of that pinch twist then, at the very top, I measure it just at the top. I don't bring it down. If I bring it down, then when I wrap it in, I lose a tiny fraction off that wheel and it doesn't sit nice and tight. So right at the top of that pinch twist, I'm going to twist, make a pinch twist, a spacer bubble like we did at the front, and wrap into that pinch twist at the back. Break this off, tie this, or wrap it around that pinch twist, whatever suits yourself. Let this deflate. I'm going to tie, I'm just going to wrap it right at the very end because we want as much of this as possible. But I don't want it too tight. Wrap it at the end, bring it underneath that tyre and wrap it around this one on the wheel arch. And I find that helps keep that nice and tight around that wheel, like so. Once we've done that, okay, make sure it's all sitting nice and straight. And if you need to attach a glue dot, then do that. Okay, we talked about that. And we're going to make this front section here. So I'm going to talk you through that. So for the front section, you require two 260 balloons. Again, I'm going to leave about a hand's width at the tail. So inflate them now. So I've got my car, I've got this big gap here, and I've got a 260, and I'm going to fill that gap in. Now, I've done lots of different hood designs in the past, but I'm going to keep the consistency of this flat weave all across this car, okay? So I'm going to hold that on the inside of the frame, and just where it hits the other inside, I'm just going to judge it and twist, okay? And where I twisted it, I'm going to fold it down, make another bubble the same size, grab that knot, wrap it around, push it through, break this off, tie these two sections together so they don't come undone. Make sure this is nice and tight so we can use it again, because we can make another one of these. Once I've got that, I'm just going to make sure it fits there by offering it up. And if it fits in that gap, I'm going to make another 3, so I've got 4 in total. And no, we're not just going to push these in individually, we're going to weave these together with a couple of scraps so we can tie that in nice and secure. So get rid of all these bits of scrappy bits at the end, and we need 4 of these. Once you've got all 4, place them down, grab a 260 or a 160, it doesn't really matter, but just scrap a balloon. So I'm going to cut one of these in half, and I'm going to use both to thread through our 4 sections to tie them together. So I'm going to show you. Grab one piece and push our balloon through the middle and tie it at one of the ends. And I want enough so I can wrap into something with that tiny bit of scrap, and then the remainder comes out the opposite side. And on the bottom do the same, like so. And then I'm going to thread the other ones through this. I'm going to show you how that happens now. So put these somewhere close by, grab a second one, push this through the middle and hold it, so pull it really nice and tight. Now I'm going to put it over the top of just that one we threaded through and back through the middle, and that holds that nice and tight. Same again, I'm going to push this through there, bring it down to the bottom, bring it round the side of that one I've just threaded through and back out. So now it's nice and tight. I'm going to do the same with these. Push it through the middle, up to the top, around the side and back through the centre, like so. And then with this bottom one, I'm going to do the same. push it through, back down the side, back through the centre. There's probably an easier way, but this is the way I do it. So grab this one, push this through, nice and tight, bring it round the side and back through the centre, and the last one through the middle and back through the middle. So I have them all nicely tied together. I have a scrap this side, there, and one there, which is handy because we're going to push this into that space there, like so. Okay, and then that scrap I had on this corner, I'm going to wrap in this pinch twist, this scrap, this pinch twist, this scrap, that pinch twist, and this scrap, that pinch twist. So go ahead and do that now. So I've wedged that in. The scrap I had on each corner of that weave I wrapped into the pinch twist, and all I'm going to do is just push that in so you can't see the ends, and make sure these are poking up at the same height. So take a couple of seconds to do that. So I've pushed mine down far enough so the two balloons were connected together. You can't see the middle of them or the string that connects them together. You can't see it. And it's nice and tight against this frame of the car. If you're not happy, again, what you can do is wrap a 160 from that point to that point, which runs nicely snug down there, which will hide everything. Okay, again, if the 160 is too much for you, you can puff inflate to 350 and just connect and run it down. But if it's nice and tight, you shouldn't have a problem. You won't be able to see anything. Okay, so once we've got that, and it runs nice and level on the top, we are going to do that same technique for the back, but instead of coming across, we're going to come down, and that beefs that back section up as well, so it kind of keeps that structure nice and tight. So I'm going to measure up and down 4 like we did the front, and just wedge them in there and tie them into the corners. So you need 2 260s. So go ahead and inflate. Exactly the same, even about hand's tail. So I've got a big space, needs filled in. I've got 2 260s. Again, I'm going to push that onto the inside there and just squeeze and judge that space there. So twist, bring this one down the same size. Twist that nozzle around and through, break that off. Tie this so it doesn't come undone. Like so. Come back to the balloon, tie a knot in the end, because that will make another one. Put that to one side. Just make sure that fits that space, and if it fits that space, we need another 3, 4 in total. So go and make them now. On my 4, I've got 2 scraps, and I'm going to tie them using that same technique we did for the bonnet. So tie 2 at each end. Like so, and then threading this through the middle of each one to the top and around the back and back through, just to remind everybody how we did it. So through the middle, up to the top, pull it tight, around the side and back through. Through the middle, pull down tight around the side and back through. And our last one, again through the middle, up over the top and back through, and on the bottom. So we have our 4 sections and our bits to tie in the corner. Grab your car. That should fit. It feels like it's too big, but you want to kind of push it out. Kind of keeps it stable and in shape, and beefs them back wheels up a wee bit. So kind of fits in nice and tight there. Now you can understand when I built this spoiler, I brought this across. It was to hide that gap at the top. Don't worry about the bottom because we're going to bring a chrome spoiler across, a chrome bumper across. Okay, so it kind of hides them gaps at the top, and if you wanted to, you could use a different colour. I just carried the balloon on to save wasting balloon, and it was just there, so it made it nice and easy. Just tie these in, push them in so you can't see any spaces in the string, and go and do that now. So the back is now in situ. We need to just add some finishing touches and a front grille section here just to really finish this car off. Okay, so we're going to put this front grille section in, and then we'll do the added extras like the exhaust pipes or muffler, the lights around the car, and various other bits and bobs. A special bit that we're going to put into that side view mirror that makes it really look cool. So for this section we're going to use a 350. So whatever colour we want to use, grey or silver or whatever colour you're using, I'm just going to keep it nice and simple and use a black 350. So grab one of them and we'll fit that in. So I've got my car. I've just inflated enough balloon to fit into that gap. Okay, so I'm going to let air down till it's the right size, and I think that's just the right size for that gap. Okay, and once I've got that, I'm going to tie this nozzle to the rest of the balloon, and I'm going to tie it like so it sits at the back, and then I'm going to break all this off. So I'm going to get my scissors and just cut that. Look at that, like so, and it sits at the back. Now that will fit nice and snug under there because we've got this bonnet, and as you see it comes under. It stops us doubling this over and just sitting it nice and snug. So if you want to tie this in, you can tie a balloon around there and tie it at different points, or alternatively it should just snip nice and snug in that space without interfering with anything, and that's the effect you get there. Once we put our bumper across the front, it sits a bit higher up, and it kind of just keeps that in place as well. So we've got our back, we've got our front grille. The rest is all just to bling this car up. So we're going to put a chrome bumper across the front and the back, and do 2 tulip twists for the exhaust pipe on the back as well. So grab a chrome. If you haven't got a chrome, grab a grey 260. I'm going to use 2 just in case, because sometimes it can be quite fiddly. So grab 2, and we'll put them on. So I've got my chrome. I'm going to inflate it about so much. Okay, we're going to break this off, so I wouldn't do too much. About 6 fingers. Tie off then at the nozzle, and I'm just going to wrap this between these 2 pinch twists here on the frame. Okay, between them 2 pinch twists, I'm just going to wrap this into one of them and bring it over to the other side. So just roll that in nice and tight, and then bring it straight across to the opposite side, and we're going to just wrap that in and break that off. I'm going to tie this so we can use it on the other side, on the back, sorry, and put that to one side. And then you can either tie this or wrap it in and just lose that underneath that car in the framework. Again, it just sits a bit higher up, so it just keeps that in. If you feel like that's going to pop out, that just keeps that nice and snug in there. Okay. So we've done that in the front, and I'm going to do it on the back between the 2 pinch twists there. So grab your chrome or chrome effect, and between these 2 pinch twists, I'm going to put a back bumper on. Tie that off, wrap that around. Straighten everything up, make sure it's all seated correctly,
and then that just sits at the bottom there. So any gap at the bottom, that kind of hides it. Now for the exhaust pipe or the muffler, I'm going to wrap into this pinch twist, and I'm just going to sit it above that. Or you can transfer it into that gap there between the wheel arch pinch twist and there, depending on where you prefer to have it seated. So for that then, I'm going to inflate a new, Chrome 260. Okay, and I'm going to tie that off. I'm just going to make a tulip by pushing the nozzle in, grabbing with my finger and my thumb. Be careful pulling this out, we don't want to burst it. And about that, it's about 4 fingers, that's plenty. Break it off. I'm going to use the scrap to wrap around that knot. And then through, and just pull that tight, and that should hold. That's one. A bit awkward. Tie this again. Make a second one then. I'm going to push that nozzle, that knot into there, grab it with my finger and my thumb. Pull my finger out. I'm going to make sure these are roughly the same size. If not, I'm just going to put a bit more pressure on this balloon to push more air into that. Break it further down. Again, I'm going to wrap that nice and tight around there, and then make a knot. Okay, really fiddly. And I have 2 sections for an exhaust pipe on each side, okay? So, the way I fit these then is to get the back section of that car, and I'm going to wrap them into these pinch twists where we wrap the back bumper into. So these 2 pinch twists here, that's where I'm going to wrap these into. So I'm just going to grab that, and I'm going to roll it around. I'm not going to force it because I don't want to pop a pinch twist. And the pinch twist sits there underneath, that kind of holds it if you want to put it like so. And just angle it up or have it coming out straight, to you. Or alternatively, you can transfer it to that space at the side like so. Sits between the 2 pinch twists, it's up to you. Okay, wherever you fancy. I kind of like that look where it arches up like that. I kind of like that look, so that's what I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm going to copy that on the opposite side. Rotate that around. Make sure they're both seated at the same angle. And that is my exhaust pipe coming out of the side, back of the car like that. I kind of like that look. Okay, so you can play about with that, have them whatever angle. If you want to make your bumper a different colour, go ahead, it's entirely up to yourself. We're just going to add some lights, but first we're going to add the side view mirrors. So we're going to have a reflective side, so it looks like a mirror, and then a red side matches the side colour of the car. So what I'm going to do is grab a scrap of my chrome, or whatever's left of my chrome, and a scrap of 260, but if you don't get a fresh balloon. I've got 260 and I've got the scrap of that chrome. I'm making a 2-finger bubble. I'm just holding that, I'm not tying it. Same there, tie the 2 ends together, like so. I'm going to double knot, okay. Then I'm going to bend these over, and I'm going to double knot them on the bottom. And then I'm going to grab my trusty scissors, cut these ends off, just to keep it nice and tidy. Grab my car, grab the side view mirror. I'm going to push the red so it faces the hood and the reflective part faces where you would see the mirror. Okay, and I'm just going to open that loop up and just thread that through. So that's the mirror from the back, kind of beefs it up, but from the side You see that reflective part, so it kind of looks like a real cool mirror. And I'm going to do that on the opposite side, so go ahead and do that. So I've gone ahead and fitted them on both sides, and I think it looks really cool. Okay, everything is positioned as it should be. All we're going to do now is add some light. So at the back, all I do usually is put a red bubble that I make from a 260 at these points here, but because the car's red, I'm going to put orange just so you can see them better, and they act as brake lights. So grab an orange 260. I've got one here. All I'm going to do is a 2-finger bubble and tie off. Cut off the scrap, leaving a tiny bit to wrap in, and I'm going to make a second one. So there's two. Wrap in to this point and this point. Again, I would use red for any other colour than red. Kind of just look like you've had an extra pinch twist, but that's why I'm using orange. They're either brake lights or blinkers, whatever you want. Okay. Just make sure everything's seated correctly, like that. And then for the front, I add white ones up here for the headlights, and then either orange or goldenrod or whatever you've got down here, just above that pinch twist, fits it nice and snug in that gap. And they are the blinkers or indicators if you're in the UK. And we're going to do that now. So grab a white 260, make 2 bubbles, one for either side, and a yellow or an orange one or a goldenrod, whatever you prefer for the bottom section. And like that, the power of magic, I've added the 2 white ones just into them pinch twists there, the yellow ones down the bottom, and that really blings that out. Again, down the side, there's not much detail to put down the side, that's it. Okay, apart from the wing mirrors, and on the back, I kind of think that's enough. If you want to write a license plate onto that, go ahead. Alternatively, if you want to write a license plate on that, go ahead. The extra detail comes in changing the colours up. So a few people have changed these 160 details into black or an accent colour. A few people have doubled this over at the back, so it's a bigger spoiler. They've even come out to loop either side, so it's longer. You can make it as big and as long as you want, and that's pretty much it. Okay, I do say if you make this in 350s as opposed to 260s, scale it up, it's a much bigger car. You can, and perceived value, get more money. And if you do that, people have asked what size wheel do I use. I use the same, only I use a 160 grey or 160 silver to like make a flower configuration and put that in, and that acts as an alloy wheel. And if you've got a pinch twist at the front and one at the back, then you've still got enough to tie that string in that we need underneath to connect to each other. So that is our car. I think it looks really cool. Okay, so again, if you want, you can fill this space in here with a 5-inch round, or you can make another weave out of a different colour and put it in there. I don't think you really need to. This space here, okay, if you get a 350 and make a double pinch twist and a loop back into itself, it fits nice and snug in there. That double pinch twist then will allow you to wrap a round balloon into the top and sit snug. It could be a ninja face, it could be Batman, Spider-Man, it could be a baby, but whatever you want to put on that, it looks like somebody's driving the car, which really looks cool. And if you push it down, the head's just popping out there. Okay, so play about with it, see what you think. But thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoy this car. Hope it makes you some money.